Hello, Zach Perry here, the Fortune Firm. I'm going to talk to you about an exciting program that we have really been privileged to be able to offer to you. It's something we call open platform monetization, and we could really supercharge the growth in your retirement vehicle through leveraging. Okay, it's a really exciting program to really kind of get how it works. I like to start with an explanation of how banks make money. Okay, this is something called fractional reserve banking. Okay, if you're familiar with this will ring true to you. If you're not, Google it. You'll get some cool explanations. I'm going to walk through it briefly with you right now. But with fractional reserve banking, basically, we start with this core principle, and that is that the lifeblood of a bank is new deposits. Okay, they can only make money. Banks make money by lending money and charging interest, right? And they can only make money if they have money to lend out. And so we have an incentive to put our monies with the banks because of the convenience and the security, right? And so we stick our money there, and we can buy stuff anywhere without carrying cash with us, and it's obviously good for us, okay? And so once they have their money on account, they go make money with it. So let me walk you through a scenario. Let's say you go deposit $100 at your local bank, credit union, whatever it is. You just go stick $100 in the bank. Now you have an account, and if you log on, it shows the account balance of $100. Now that bank, they want to loan that money out. That's how they make money. Now the Federal Reserve places rules and limits on what they can do and says, hey, for every dollar you have on account, you have to reserve 10% of it. You have to keep that in your vault. The other 90% you can loan out. So with your $100, they stick $10 in their vault, and the other $90 they can wrap in a bigger loan. Okay, so if someone comes to the bank, your bank, and they say, hey, I want to buy a house, I need a mortgage, and they apply for a loan. Let's say they need $100,000, and the bank goes through their risk analysis and checks their credit and whatnot, and they determine, okay, we're willing to loan the money to this person. They're going to take that $100,000 loan, and they're going to send it to the bank where the seller of the home banks. And that $100,000 has $90 of yours in it, okay? So that $100,000 transfer goes to the seller of the real estate or house, and now there's $90 of your money in that second bank. Okay, now that second bank has to play by the same rules as every other bank. From that $90, they've got to keep 9 of it on reserve, but they can take the other $81 of it and they can go loan it out to someone else in a new loan. Okay, so if someone comes to that bank, and by the way, that could be the same bank as yours or a different one, it doesn't matter. If they come and they want an auto loan, they need $20,000 to buy a car, that bank's going to do the risk assessment, check the credit of the borrower. If they decide to loan it, they'll give $20,000 loan, $81 of which is yours, and they send it to the seller of the vehicle's bank. And now there's $81 on deposit in that person's bank account that really came from your $100. Okay, now that bank can do the same thing. They've got to keep 10% on reserve, that's $8.10, and they can loan out the other $72.90. Now you're thinking, how you can't loan right now, just in those 3 iterations, we've got $280 loaned out, but we only had $100 to begin with. How's that possible? Well, it's possible because they're not actually handing cash. It's just numbers on a ledger, right? So they can loan the same dollar more than once. Now the average interest rate for a personal loan as of 2020 was 9.41%. So if banks are charging on average 9.41% on these loans, then that's where they make their money. And I'll show you exactly how much that money is in a minute. Now, if you bank at one of the 4 biggest banks, they're paying 0.1% interest on a savings account. They're not paying you anything for the money on checking account, right? So that means if you stick $100 in the savings account in a year, you'll have another dime, $100.10, okay? Now let's take this out 10 iterations, which is the max the Federal Reserve says they can leverage themselves. Your $100, if it is used to its maximum for loans, that means 10 different loans or 10 different transactions, okay? There's a total now of $651.32 that shows on different people's statements. Those 10 different people have statements. And a combined $651.32 that came from your original $100 deposit, okay? Now, if the bank follows the rules, they've got $65.13 on reserve, and they've loaned out the other 90%, the $586.19. And if they're charging 9.41% on that, then after a year, they've earned $55.16, and it all traces back to your $100. Now that may sound like a 55% rate of return, but it really isn't, because when we calculate rate of return, we calculate on the money we put up versus the money we get out of it. Well, the bank hasn't put up any money in this scenario. It's all other people's money. And so that's really an infinite rate of return. And I like to ask people, if you could invest, for every $0 that you invested, if you could get $55.16, how many times would you invest $0? Right? Easy answer. An infinite number of times. Now, what does this all cost the bank to do? 65 cents. That's how much they're paying in interest for the benefit of using this money. So you can see banks are making a lot more than the 2.5% that you're paying on your mortgage, right? They're making a ton of money. But you also understand that this creates kind of a fragile system. Because if there's $651 showing on an account, but really only $65 in the vault, if all 10 of those people went and wanted their money and would cause what we call a bank run, the bank would fail, which is why the FDIC was created, and it ensures this and it promotes consumer confidence. And so it's kind of a fragile system, but the Federal Reserve has set that number at 10% in 10 iterations to keep it manageable. That's what they calculate as manageable. But we can use the same advantage without putting ourselves in a fragile situation. What if we could turn you into the bank, where you could use the same dollar, not once, not twice, not just 10 times, but multiple times, without putting you in a position where you are over leveraged? Okay, let me show you what we can do. I want to use this example. Let's say you've got $200,000 in a 401k. Now I've got other videos that shows you how we can free up some of that money, but for sake of our example, let's assume that you want to take $100,000 of that and you want to set up an investment grade insurance contract where you've got $100,000 of premium going in every single year. You're going to fund the first year's premium with half the value of the 401k using our Fortune Freedom program. You're going to leave the other $100,000 in the 401k, and you're going to keep contributing the max, $19,500, okay? You're going to keep contributing every year to that 401k. You're never going to contribute to the insurance contract again, not with your own money. Now, I want to show you the two halves of this equation, okay? So let's leave the 401k aside for a minute. We'll come to that. Now what we're going to do on the IGIC side, we've set this up, remember, for $100,000 of premium to go in every year, and you've paid the first year's premium. Now we're approaching the second year. Your second premium is coming due, but you don't have another $100,000 to contribute, or even if you did, we didn't set it up so that you would be contributing the second $100,000. What we're going to do is we're going to go to a bank and we're going to say, hey bank, I've got this $100,000 cash value permanent life insurance contract over here, and I would like to use the cash value in it as collateral for a loan. Now banks, remember, in the business of extending loans. That's how they make money. And they're willing to extend loans on mortgages, on vehicles, on new businesses, on all sorts of things. But they're especially willing to extend loan where you're using cash value life insurance as collateral, because that is about the safest place your money can be, and banks love doing it. So we're going to get a pretty good interest rate. Now, for the sake of this example, I'm going to assume 3% interest rate. We can do better than that, but let's just assume 3 so I can show you how compelling the math is even at 3, okay? So the bank's going to loan you $100,000, and you're going to use that $100,000 to pay the second year's premium. Now another year passes. You're going to approach the bank when the third year premium is coming due, and you're going to say, hey bank, I've got $200,000 that we've contributed to this life insurance contract. $100,000 of it I've already collateralized, but I would like to use the second $100,000 as collateral for another loan. Bank says, great. So you get a second loan for the third premium, and the bank's going to give you a loan for $100,000. You're going to use that to pay the premium. In year 4, you're going to do the same thing. And what you need to realize is that every single year, you're ahead by at least your $100,000 premium and any of the growth in the meantime, because all the growth in the meantime, less that 3% financing cost, you get to keep. So every single year, you are going to use that $100,000, which is growing, right? But you're going to use that $100,000, and you're going to take out a loan, and you are now going to pay that premium. So let's fast forward 20 years. In 20 years' time, you will have paid $2 million in premium. $100,000 was yours. The other $1.9 million you got from the bank, okay? But you've also got 20 years worth of growth. So you probably have about $3.3 million of cash value in that account. Now these Insurance contracts have about a 5% growth year over year over time, okay? So 5% over time. In year 20, if it grows by 5%, it's growing by $165,000 on that $3.3 million. But you've also got $1.9 million outstanding that's earning 3% interest. That's $57,000, okay? So what's your net growth in year 20 alone? $108,000, which on your original $100,000 put in is a 108% return on investment in 1 year alone. Now, don't get too excited. That is a high number, but there's actually a negative return in the early years because you have to pay for the cost of insurance. And so in the first few years, for every dollar you put in, you've got less than $1 in cash value. Now, granted, for every dollar you put in, you've got multiple dollars of death benefit. But in the early years, that growth curve takes a little bit of a dip, but then it gets steep real quick. And so when we average this out, the huge returns on the late years, less the negative return in the early years, we're usually in the teens. You're seeing an average annual rate of return in the teens. And every year that goes by, the greater the earnings, okay? And you can just keep doing this. Now, you've also got an $8 million death benefit. These numbers are one particular scenario. We can run this for you to see what your exact numbers are. And that can generate $325,000 in tax-free income, okay? So that's just sticking the $100,000 aside and then using bank money. Now, we haven't over-leveraged you either, because remember, you always are ahead by that $100,000 premium plus any of the growth in the meantime, which means at any time, if you wanted to walk away and call it quits, or the bank were to call in the note for some reason, you'd have enough money to pay off the note, and then you get to keep all the growth in the meantime, okay? So it's not like there's ever going to be a bank run and you're not setting up a fragile house of cards. Let's go back to the scenario where you left $100,000 in your qualified account and you max out your $19,500 contribution every year. What that means is over the 20 years, you've contributed $490,000, and it's grown to about $961,000, so your money is about doubled over that time. Okay, so let's show you how both of those scenarios play out come tax time. So obviously 100% of the balance of the 401k is taxable, and with the IGIC, only the original $100,000 you rolled over is taxable. That's $36,000 in RMDs on the left side, $3,800 on the right. So between the two plans, you could pull out $360,000 per year, which is $30,000 per month, and pay taxes on $40,000 of it, which, by the way, works out to be, at today's tax rates, $3,155 federal taxes. Okay, state taxes would obviously be a different story. That's an effective tax rate of 0.87%. It's really a really cool program. We've got some software that we use and can use to show you what exactly it looks like for you. We offer this program for free. So if you want to do this, you will never be paying me any money. All of the money that you pay is going to go into your plan, and then the insurance company is going to pay me my commission for doing it, okay? Now, when we show you your plan and we project that growth over time, we're showing the plan with your numbers, okay? Every single number pertains to you. There's not going to be hidden fees taken out of those numbers. Those numbers are yours, okay? So if you want to see how this works for you, you give us a call. I'd love to show you, because our goal is to keep more money in your pocket. My name is Zach Perry. That's all I have for you today. May your fortune be with you always.